Thank you for watching, liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing right now.
Samsung Galaxy S3 versus iPhone 5. Which is better? Well, we all know that better is relative. And this is not, by the way, a discussion about iOS versus Android. This is really about the entire experience one might have with the Samsung Galaxy S3, contrasted against the entire experience one might have with the iPhone 5. Now, the bottom line is that they're both really good phones, and neither one of them tops the other in every single way. The Samsung Galaxy S3 trumps the iPhone 5 in several ways, including the default camera application, and this thing is feature-packed. One of the things I happen to like about the default app, the camera app on the Samsung Galaxy S3, is that you have various shooting modes you can set, single shot, multi-shot. You can change the scene mode, exposure value, focus mode. You can set a timer. You've got various effects. You can set white balance, ISO metering, anti-shake, auto contrast. I mean, the list kind of goes on, and that is feature-packed. And the fact that I happen to use the phone frequently as a camera, which I know is really odd to say, and I think many users do as well, having a feature-packed camera app I think is very, very important to some users. The second thing that I think the Samsung Galaxy S3 does better than the iPhone is, well, it has a larger screen. I don't know if that it does it better. It's just having a larger screen does mean a lot when it comes to viewing images or video, and I happen to love Instagram on the Samsung Galaxy S3 screen. It's a bigger screen. What's not to like? I mean, who could argue? It's a bigger screen, and it works really well when you're viewing media. The third thing that I happen to like on the Samsung Galaxy S3 over the iPhone 5 is haptic touch. I love that. Like when you're typing on a keyboard, like let's see here. If I go into, okay, so I'm in Instagram here, and I will comment, and I go down here, and I'm typing junk. You may not be able to hear it, but the phone is vibrating ever so lightly every time I press a key, or touch a key. I guess I'm not pressing any, well, I am pressing. Anyway, yes, it does take battery life, but I happen to like haptic feedback when it comes to touching the screen. I wish Apple did more of that. Maybe they will at some point, but until then, I gotta hand it to Samsung Galaxy S3. It does the job better. Now, all that said, I think the iPhone 5 is superior to the Samsung Galaxy 3 in several ways as well. And one of the ways is better frame rates, and that is more visible in certain applications than in others. Like if I open up Flipboard on the Samsung Galaxy S3, and if I also open up Flipboard here on the iPhone, you may not be able to see the difference between the swipes as I swipe back and forth between different screens, but you can definitely see dropped frames, especially in the tighter spaces. Again, I don't think the camera's going to pick up on this, but it's smoother on the iPhone 5. It's just visibly smoother. Now, I want to throw a caveat in there. I'm still running Ice Cream Sandwich. Project Butter and Jelly Bean, when they push it out, may improve that performance. It's just something that I notice. Better frame rates than iPhone 5. I also happen to think that despite the iPhone 5 having a smaller screen compared to the Samsung Galaxy S3, the colors are truer to life. The contrast is better. Saturation, the color is just, it's cleaner. And it's just noticeable. The blacks are even deeper to me and to my eyes. And granted, I don't have perfect eyes, but I just happen to think that despite it being a smaller screen, just seems to be a better quality screen on the iPhone 5 contrasted against the Samsung Galaxy S3. And then the third thing I think, now that I've mentioned 3 for Samsung Galaxy S3 trumping the iPhone 5, the third thing I think the iPhone 5, or how the iPhone 5 trumps the Samsung Galaxy S3, is single-handed operation. It's a big deal for me. I cannot operate this phone with a single hand. The screen's, it's too big, which it's generally not a problem depending on when and how you're using it, but I happen to like single-handed operation, and even with a taller screen on the iPhone 5, I can still generally get around with a single thumb, holding it in one hand. I like that. So, which one is better? I've explained how one could be better than the other in different ways. It just depends on what you want. They're both fantastic experiences. Of course, they're running completely different platforms, but I don't know if you knew this, but most of the apps that you could find on iOS, at least the popular ones, you're probably also going to be able to find on Android. And that's the bottom line. They're both good choices. But you gotta know, neither one of these devices is perfect. In fact, there are a few things that annoy me about the iPhone 5. One of which is that purple fringing effect. Like if you line up an image with the camera app and you see a purple hue kind of bleeding in. This is an issue that is not just in Apple's camp. It's really something that happens throughout the world of digital photography. It just happens to be annoying and slightly more pronounced, at least in my experience, with the iPhone 5. Another thing that annoys me about the iPhone 5 is the lack of lightning accessories. This new port, it's nice. It works very well. It's just that there aren't a lot of accessories that support it. Yet, that will change in time. The third thing that annoys me, battery life. It seems to be almost as good as it was with the 4S. So even though the 5 is faster than previous models, battery life didn't really improve. I think it's using a 1,440 milliamp hour battery inside, much like with the 4S, which, can drain quickly, especially when compared to bigger batteries with higher capacity in other devices like the Samsung Galaxy S3. But the Samsung Galaxy S3 did annoy me in certain ways as well. The one thing that I know many people like about the Samsung Galaxy S3 is the back button, and I know it's not the only phone with a back button. I'm just saying, I kept accidentally tapping that thing when I didn't want to tap it. And that would be really annoying. Like, it'd be in the middle of something, what the hell? And my screen starts freaking out, and I can't figure out why, except that my finger's on the back button, or I'm accidentally holding it the wrong way. Okay, that annoyed me. I'm not a fan of the back button, although I am a fan when it works. I'm like, tap, 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 I can go back. I like it when it's not in my way. The problem is it gets in my way when I don't want it to be in my way. Another thing I wasn't very happy about with the Samsung Galaxy S3 is the speaker. I was honestly expecting better, but the sound kind of came out tinny, and I tend to listen to, online radio, and yes, I could connect it to some speakers around me, Bluetooth speakers or whatever, but I do happen to listen to a fair amount of audio just with the phone and using the phone speakers. But the speaker on this phone wasn't that impressive. Unless, of course, all you're doing is listening to voice, in which case, it does well enough. The third thing that I didn't like about the Samsung Galaxy S3, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, the responsiveness in applications isn't as... It's not there. It's getting there. And I'm hoping, again, and I'm trying to throw a caveat with each one of these annoyances, I'm hoping that will improve when they push Jelly Bean down the pike, which was the version of Android that was released after Ice Cream Sandwich. Everything that I've experienced with Jelly Bean on other devices has been fantastic. The Samsung Galaxy S3 is a fantastic piece of hardware, a fantastic experience out of the box. But again, the same with the iPhone 5. It's very difficult to pick a winner. It depends. What annoys you? What pleases you? And here's the thing. I got to point this out too. You don't necessarily have to like one over the other. You can actually like both. I do.